25th East China School District Board of Education meeting. If you would all please stand with me for a moment of silence and pledge allegiance.
It's back there.
That detail didn't get taken care of.
Thank you. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, well, welcome everybody. The next item on our agenda is items of interest, recognition and inquiry. Board of Education members, does anybody have anything this evening?
Does anyone else have something? Or you want to go? I don't even know where to start. There's been so many really nice things in the last month. I think the first thing I think I'd like to acknowledge is the article I saw in the paper about Marine City High School being one of 3 high schools in the state of Michigan having a 100% graduation rate. So, and Sinclair wasn't too shabby either. So congratulations to both schools and their students. Another shout out to the Rec Teen Zone, I think it's called? River Rec Teen Zone. I've seen a lot of postings, so now I'm following it on Facebook. It's really a wonderful opportunity for some afternoon enrichment. I think primarily for high school age students. I'm not really sure if they're taking middle school, but I believe it's in the historic town hall in Marine City. There, I think it's 300 Main Street, or Broadway, I'm sorry, Broadway, and it's open from 2:30 to 4:30. So, especially with spring and summer coming up, check it out. They've got some really interesting things doing. They've got a program coming up with the Michigan State University Extension Unit, where students participating in a 6-week program in foods and nutrition can earn a certificate. So go on their Facebook page and check it out and just see what they're doing. So great things going all the way around.
Anybody else? Mrs. Sagula.
Yes, good evening. I'd first like to introduce to you our very first School Safety and Security Director for East China School District. He's Dave Kennedy. He's here tonight. And first of all, to put a face to a name, and also to thank him because he's already been out forming relationships with our students, helping us with specific events that we've been going on, and already become an invaluable part of our team. So thank you very much, and welcome aboard, Mr. Kennedy.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Welcome. Thank you.
I'd also like to remind everyone that May 3rd is the Sinking Fund renewal vote for the East China Sinking Fund. It is a renewal. There is no change or increase to taxes, but that is on May 3rd.
All right. The next item is our academic spotlight, Marine City campus with Mrs. Sherry Ecker, our principal there.
Good evening, President Frank, Superintendent Saibula, and members of the board. We are here tonight. We have our 7th and 8th graders from Marine City Middle School to present our new program offering at the middle school level, Project Lead the Way. This is the first year at the middle schools. It is led by Anne-Marie McLeod at the Marine City end and Katie Bowles at the Sinclair end. It took the place of the STEM classes, and this current program is currently offered to any student in 7th and 8th grade. Our focus is on engagement and collaboration within the class. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. McLeod and her students to present what they're doing throughout the year.
They're going to present. This is the good part. I talk to them all day long, not present. Okay.
Hi, my name is Earl Beatty. I'm in 8th grade, and I was in the Automation and Robotics class last year and currently in the Design and Modeling class. It was awesome this year to have 2 new choices of class in the middle school. And the 7th graders were able to take Design and Modeling, which we call DM in 7th grade, and then the 8th graders were able to take Automation and Robotics in 8th grade. We call that AR. Because the 8th graders didn't get the opportunity to take Design and Modeling last year, we were able to take it this year. A really nice feature of this program is that everything's online and it's super easy to use online. The first thing we were asked in Design and Modeling was, if you ever wanted to create a toy or a device to help people, and of course we all have. I mean, who doesn't want something to do your homework or do your chores or something? So, seriously though, that was the main question throughout most of the class. We use many tools in Design and Modeling, such as the design process, CAD programs, simulations, and our engineering notebooks, which you'll see a lot of examples here today. That was like our main writing down stuff. It's cool to take, and we had new 3D printers. It was cool to take our ideas from concept to reality. Here's Kaylee Kettlehut to tell you more.
Hi, I'm Kaylee Kettlehut, and I'm in 8th grade, and I was in both Design and Modeling and Automation and Robotics, and I'm here today to talk about Design and Modeling. So there are 3 lessons in Design and Modeling, and there's Intro to Design, Solid Modeling, and Design Challenge. So in Intro to Design, we discover the design process and how to really work as a team. And this is where we learned a lot about ourselves and how we work and our strengths and weaknesses and how we truly can be productive on a team. And there are our first tasks of design and modeling where we make our AFO, and that's our ankle and foot orthosis. So this is our design matrix that we came up with, and this is a list of our criteria to judge each of our AFOs. And then we walked around with our team to discuss how well the AFO met the requirements, so like if your foot wouldn't go up and down or whatever the requirements were. And this is great because it let the data determine the best solution. And instead of, we use the design matrix instead of the person with the biggest smile.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Parker. I was in Automation Robotics last semester. I'm in Design Modeling this semester. In Intro to Design, we also put our measurement skills in the test, and we made and tested skimmers, and then we launched them down the hallway, collected data, and using rulers to measure how far they were. And then later in the lesson, we stepped it up using dial calipers, and learned how to use, and because they're more precise. Here you see us using our measure. Here you see us measuring our skimmer distance, and using the dial caliper measure cubes. With all of our data, we were able to create a box and whiskers plot on the computer, and even learned how to complete a mechanical dissection from puzzle cube. The goal here was to increase the measurements of each piece so that a young child with vision impairment could feel and like use it more effectively and efficiently. And the next lesson in design modeling is solid modeling. And this is where we took all of our lessons and put it in action. This is where we made two-dimensional ideas 3D. And here are some pictures of us creating name tags on the 3D printers and other small objects in Tinkercad. With our new 3D printers, our printers are pretty cool too. They have cameras in them, so we can see our design in reality. Smartphone, so pretty cool. And they have names like Tom, Jerry, Bugs, and Daffy, just to spruce up the class in the room. This really helps when you're trying to send things like to our parents, like, oh, yeah, Bugs, Bugs.
Hello, my name is Gabriella DeGasperis. I was part of Automation and Robotics and Design and Modeling, and I'm here with Kaylee Kettlehut. One of the most fun projects we did in DM was the Puzzle Cube project. We were given a design brief and set to the task. In the design brief, we found out that there is a business that has too much scrap wood and the idea was to use the wood scraps to make a novelty toy for middle school students to keep them busy and just for them to use. And so it's a win-win. The company makes use of their waste, and middle school students aren't bored, or at least not for a few minutes. But really, when do middle school students ever really say that they're ready for the board? After the design brief, we developed our concept and documented everything. You never know when you're going to need to go back to the drawing board.
So here's a picture of us trying to come up with the best puzzle cube. And once we thought that we had the one that met all the requirements, it was time to get to it. So here's some pictures of notebooks showing like how we dimensioned each piece and multi-view sketched everything and used the dial calipers to measure each section. And then we added all the dimensions, and so if you ever need a puzzle cube, you have to call.
After we had all our puzzle cube pieces documented, we created a model of it in Tinkercad and then moved on to making it a reality. We used wooden blocks to construct each piece and model them, and we painted them and constructed them, and we used data from other students in classes and our own to prepare data for a presentation.
So once our cube is built, it's testing time. And this is a picture right here of our final cube. And this is the data determine how long it took students to solve them and whether it was too easy, too difficult, or if it was average. And with the data gathered, we were able to present our puzzle cube to the class.
Hi, I'm Brooke Renzel, and I was in design and modeling. I'm Megan Wolfsbacher, and I'm the last lesson in design and modeling was a design challenge. This is where it truly all comes together. We were given a task to develop a toy for a patient with cerebral palsy. Each group chose a child and was given a profile. Each profile listed likes, hobbies, and something the patient was working on in therapy. It was our job to read the child's profile and learn about them to create a toy that they would want to play with, but that would also help them. That's not a no-win. I mean, think about it. If we could create a Reese's peanut butter egg that also provided us with all of our daily vitamins, would we want it?
Yes.
So if we can get the children to want to play with that toy, but in the end it's also helping them improve their mobility, what more can we ask for?
This is a picture of our notebook, which with the design brief, including the child's profile and some of our ideas. And this is one of our toys in reality. This group child was working on injured grass and loves chicken nuggets. So they designed an oven complete with an oven mitt, tongs, chicken nuggets with Velcro strips, a plate, and even a cup to dip the nuggets in the sauce. This group's child was working on hand-eye coordination. So this group did a play on the traditional ball toss game and made a hamburger toss. This group created a very unique drum, and this group designed and built a can magnet. It is so nice to be in a class where you can be so creative.
Moving on to AR. Hi, I'm Renovations. I'm in 8th grade, and I was in Automation and Robotics. In Automation and Robotics, we get to design, build, and program. We also use the design process in our engineering notebooks. So having design and modeling in 7th grade is very beneficial in taking automation and robotics in the 8th grade. We also use much of what is taught in design and modeling in AR. AR is where we are introduced to the VEX robotics. There are also 3 lessons in automation and robotics. There is what is automation and robotics, mechanical systems, and automated systems. In the first lesson, we mainly go over the history, development, and influence of automation and robotics. Whether it is positive, negative, or negative, our choices, technological developments, and the use. This is where we also get introduced to the VEX materials, and there are lots of them, as you can see here. We share all of these, and we get to go to the cupboards and choose the materials based on our design solutions. These are our toolboxes. Each group gets their own toolboxes to use the small VEX parts. And yes, there are even more VEX materials, like the brain, sensors, motors, Who can't use more brains?
Hi, I am Alex and I was in Automation and Robotics. The second lesson in AR is Mechanical Systems. In this lesson we learned about transfer of energy, machine automation, and computer control systems. We built these test beds with a lot of different mechanisms to learn about speed, torque, force, and direction movement. You can see a cam and follower, a rack and pin, and even universal joint facility. Once we learned about the different mechanical systems, we were given our first task to design and build a children's toy. We needed to include at least one of the mechanisms that we learned about. Here's one group design matrix, the concepts, and our final toy. When you pull the turtle with string, the head goes in and out. This is one group's helicopter. As you pull the string, the propeller spins around. It's a lot tougher than most. This group made a train engine with a smokestack that goes up and down. After the Bull Toy Challenge, and of course we had an awesome parade, we stepped it up again. Each group was able to choose 1 of 4 survival challenges listed here. This group created an all-terrain vehicle, and the notebook showed some of their notes and ideas. It was great to use our creativity and not just follow a set of directions.
The last lesson in AR is automated systems. In this lesson, we learned how to write pseudocode, and then we took our pseudocode and tried to plug it into the Vex virtual world to see if our directions were clear enough, and to see if our robots would actually perform and do what we wanted them to do. If this didn't work, we could always go back and fix our pseudocode and try again.
So this is a picture of our test bed where we learned how to use the motors and sensors, and once we learned how to use those and program them, we figured out how to use our brains. So we were given the task of developing and programming a spinning sign. And here are just here are just some of the signs that we built. And we went local, so you may notice some of them, like the Riverview and the Sweet Tooth Cafe, and Gars and AutoZone. And these are just a few of the many signs you may recognize. You can see how each one is so creative and different.
Hi, I'm Skylar DeMarliston. I was in Automation and Robotics. After we had the spinning signs mastered, we were given a list of 9 other tasks and we choose them. Some of them included drag race, Grimm's chair, and pull loop. This is a photo of a group who programmed their robot to do a task called stay on course. And this group, which is actually my group, we decided to make an elevator, a freight elevator, that actually required 2 brains. It was fun to see how everyone took on these challenges. There were so many unique ideas.
Hi, I'm Ben Van Buskirk. I'm in 8th grade. I was in AR last semester and am currently in DM. So not sure if you can tell from the pictures and everything this group has presented, but something we definitely learn in these classes is self-reliance. We really get to know ourselves, including our strengths and weaknesses. We have become resourceful and learned to respond to challenges in new ways. It is so much fun trying to take charge of some of our learning. It definitely makes the class time fly by. We just want to thank you for letting us come and tell you about these classes. And if you have any questions or want to stop by and watch us work, just let Miss McLeod know and she'll handle it. Thank you again.
And you are more than welcome, because we do like to show off. What a great job. Thanks, guys. Thank you. You guys, let's meet together. Let's go meet together.
Yeah, we'll take a couple minute break so that
Not yet. much
No,
longer.
it would not have.
You want to time it?
Okay, so we'll move on. The next item on our agenda is the consent agenda, and a motion is needed for the approval of minutes from the regular Board of Ed meeting on March 21st, the approval of payment of bills, financial statement, and schedule of investments.
So moved.
Support. Are there any comments or questions? Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. The next item on our agenda is recognition of persons wishing to address the board. This portion of the agenda is for citizens to address the board with any questions or comments. We will listen, but it's our board policy that we are not able to respond at this time. However, Mrs. Sybula will reach out to you to follow up with any of your comments or questions. We also ask that you please limit your comments to 5 minutes, and we will have a buzzer buzz when the 5 minutes are up. So the first person is Enoch Ashley. Right here, honey, sorry.
All right, I came here from Riverview. I'm a junior, and everybody knows me as a kid who doesn't like school. I never did. It was never my thing. When I came to Riverview, like, everybody has this impression that it's just like this horrible school, and all the bad kids go there. That's just not how it is. When I went there, I met some of the smartest kids I've ever known, like some kids that are just the most creative people ever. And the teachers there, they're not there for the paycheck. These teachers, they want to learn you, they want to like get to know you, and they don't look as, they don't look at you as a grade, and they think of you as more than that. These teachers, they're more of like a friend to me, someone I can go to. I've never trusted a teacher with anything like that before, and Riverview is such an underlooked school, and there's many overachievers at that school, and I want more kids to have the opportunity that I have right now, because I'm safe knowing that I'm going to graduate, and I know some kids struggle with that. And I want people to understand that Riverview is a good place, and it's not what everybody says it is. That's all I got to say.
Sean Treadaway.
President Frank, members of the board, thank you. Have you known, or how long have you known, that you are going to close, cancel, move, reintegrate, shut down, or dismantle, or alter the program in any other word that you or I choose for the ultimate removal of Riverview East? My reason for asking is, we haven't heard about this from the board. We found out on social media, not from the Board of Education. Unless I'm wrong, there has not been one public discussion about Riverview from this board. I've gone back at least a year reading the board's meeting minutes as well as agenda. Not one mention of Riverview. Are we to believe that this board was completely unaware of this? Was this decision made without the board's approval or even a board decision? I'd love to hear the explanation of that tonight from our elected board members. Thank you.
Marshall McNiff.
I am Marshall McNiff. I'm a local producer and songwriter, and I currently manage the oil shop across from Neiman's. And I'd like to mention that none of that would have been possible if I hadn't gone to Riverview. That was the ultimate opportunity that made or broke my future. If it wasn't for the support of the staff, I don't think any of that would have been attainable for myself. They helped me realize my potential and gave me a direction to walk in. Shutting down this school would be robbing those of great opportunities who need them most. I believe in this program because it believed in me. If the school is closed down, it'll be hard to fill Riverview shoes.
Alan R.
Good evening. I'm here to speak about the May 3rd sinking fund tax vote. First, holding an election in May results in immense costs, over $40,000 for this election. It's being generous. This is not the first time. They do this to evade most people who vote in November. The entire argument from the superintendent and supporters of this tax is that it does not increase taxes. While it is true that it doesn't increase the rate of taxation, it ignores a fundamental question, which is it necessary to begin with? After the passage of a $112.9 million bond in 2020, I'm going to make the case that this tax for the next decade is indeed unnecessary. For those of you scared of facts and figures, you might want to brace yourselves. The fact is, according to the Michigan Department of Treasury, less than 20% of school districts in the state of Michigan have a sinking fund tax. Of those that do, a majority have a very low bond debt. East China, on the other hand, not only has a sinking fund tax, we also have the highest bond debt in St. Clair County, paid for by taxpayers. To give a bit of history, in 2005, under immense financial pressure, the district put together a temporary plan to raise taxes for a sinking fund for the first time. Since then, the financial position of our district has become clearly stronger. According to the state transparency page, even with less students and staff, which translates to less expenditures, there has been more revenue due to more state funding per student. The general fund revenue increased by $4.5 million from 2015 to 2021. That was an 11% increase. In revenue, which has the general fund sitting at $44.2 million, while in the same time frame, student enrollment decreased by 392 students. The general fund balance sits at $6.67 million, while the sinking fund balance is at $1.57 million. According to the Mackinac Center, the school district got $7.9 million for COVID relief money. In 2020, as you know, district voters approved a nearly $113 million bond, which supposedly is to update all the school buildings and infrastructure. This last winter, you had students wearing coats in classrooms with ongoing HVAC issues as this superintendent was warm and cozy in her administrative castle. The superintendent was quoted many times that if passed, the bond would save 22% of the operations budget, which they claimed would be put back into the operations budget. At that time, the operations budget was $3.44 million. 22% of that is over $757,000. When you take that from the over $826,000 sinking fund tax, you end up with less than $70,000, which is 0.1% of your budget. Over half of that was spent on this election. Unfortunately, this is not the first lie told by the superintendent or this board. In 2014, voters approved a bus bond tax to pay for buses under a very public promise that if passed, the district would not privatize busing. In 2018, they plowed ahead with plans to privatize the bus department, and guess what? They found out it was more expensive. In 2019, the superintendent and many members of this board promised this community that they had no choice but to consolidate high schools. They had no choice but to consolidate, making Marine City and St. Clair the East China High School. They claimed that it would happen regardless of whether voters voted yes or no. I called them out on it, and that it was not physically possible. It was a scare tactic. In 2020, the superintendent promised at one of their misinformation meetings to keep Riverview East open after being pressed by a parent, and here we are today. They have more funding, and yet all they have is excuses. They do not have a darn, they don't give a darn about kids. It's all about what they can get their hands on your wallets. It's the truth. As you can see, there's no excuse to continue this unnecessary tax for another 10 years. They have more than enough funding set aside for a rainy day. It's not that they're unable to, it's that they're unwilling. Is there any board member that would like to refute anything that I've said? dispute any of the facts that I've brought forth? Hearing none, I urge you to vote no on Tuesday, May 3rd. Thank you.
What? Me?
Are you Lucas Cantrell?
I am.
Right up here, please.
Yeah, come on. How you guys doing?
Very well, thank you.
First, if you don't mind, I would just like to say, Suzanne, you know, very unprofessional handling of somebody who's trying to save the park. I mean, it was very unprofessional arguing with people over social media. That was bad. But I would like you guys to know that there's a lot of illegal stuff going on. You guys are breaking a lot of rules, such as avoiding open meeting acts. I don't understand. We're watching you guys, we're listening, we're paying attention, we're catching every mistake you guys make, whether you like it or not. So what do you think is going to happen in the parking lot? You guys can resign anytime you want. Making $35 a meeting, right? Right? What do you guys make for a meeting?
Nothing for me.
What's the point? Just sit here and you guys are like worse than drug dealers, picking on children, picking on parents.
You know what?
Oh, please do. Please do. You don't care.
You know what?
You're the right.
One more remark like that and you will be excused.
For what? I don't know if you can do that.
I can. I most certainly can.
For
You're
what?
making unfounded accusations and I won't allow it.
No, I was making a comparison.
You've been warned.
Well, so anyways, I also went to Riverview East. And you're like, man, you're no kidding, right? It's an amazing place. You guys know that. It's a school. It's not a program. And it helps people. I'm a successful person. I never thought I would be. I would make good money. I'm a good dad. I'm a great husband. I couldn't have done it without that. Cynthia, right there, I held a grudge against her for a really long time because I had to do a project. It was a make it or break it project. And I copied and pasted a list and I failed that project. The project made up half of my grade. I failed that project, I failed her class. I failed her class. I was on a work program where I was at work half of the day and at school half of the day. I lost all the credit I would have had going to work because I failed. Just do their job. They all do their jobs and they care. I can't, even if they get to keep their jobs, it's not the same. You guys know it's not the same. It really, truly is about money. You guys are sad. You guys want to sit up here and just think that this is okay. For free, for nothing, for no money you claim? I see you smiling at me. What's the point, man? What are you guys getting out of this? You know you're upsetting people. We're here all the time. We're talking to you all the time. What if I'll give each of you $100 to just open your mind and think. Just process some of the things we're thinking, some of what we're telling you. It'd be worth it to me. It'd be worth it. I guarantee everybody here would chip in $10 per meeting just to get you guys to think. Just even consider something. Is there? The transparency here, Sean mentioned a little bit. I don't see how that is something that you can claim. You obviously know we're very passionate about our FOIAs, right? I sent the FOIA out, you asked for an exemption. That exemption, it is what I'm looking for. Today was the last day
after your exemption, that you can send it. You get it 20 minutes before this starts. I don't see how, do you guys know about all this stuff? I mean, I've asked some of you questions before, and you don't understand some of these loopholes you're taking. You guys are falling in all these gray areas. Why is that something that is okay? Why is that something that the people that are in charge of this district, this school board, what you guys are setting an example?
Time's up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jamie Lamont.
Hi guys, I'm kind of new to this. In 2020, my 20-year-old graduated from Riverview East. When I put him in there, when he was at the age of 17, he told me, well, why would I want to go there? That school is full of retards. That is what he learned when he started going to school here, from the teachers, from his classmates. Once I put him into that school, it totally changed his mind. He looked at me after he graduated 2 weeks before COVID shut down and said that was the best decision I could have done for him. He loved his teachers. He loved the principal. To him, he was just another me. He was a person. He wasn't a number. He wasn't a grade. They worked with his learning abilities. And the only thing that he had was issues sleeping at night because of his job. Now I have another situation where my 17-year-old, who is in 11th grade, is behind for graduation. She's struggling. I won't lie, she struggles in school. She has an IEP. She walked out of this school the week before spring break and said, I refuse to walk back into that school. She has other things going on outside of school. She said the only way that she will continue going to school here in Michigan is if the Riverview East building stays open. She will gladly sign up for next year because she knows what kind of help there is there. She has friends that go there now. She had her older brother that graduated from there. And this is what she wants. She said if the building is closed and you guys take the program and intermingle it into the normal high schools, she won't do it. She refuses. Because these kids are leaving the high schools because they can't deal with the bullying that goes on from their peers. Or they have other issues and they feel more comfortable at Riverview East. And I just found that it was completely wrong when I saw it online that that option is not going to be there next year because you guys want to take the program itself and split it into different schools. I'm a taxpayer. All these people are taxpayers. Our students come first. Keeping a school open is what's important if that's what the kids want. Not what the board wants, but what the kids want. We pay these teachers, we pay you guys. We're taxpayers. Our names and our opinions should count for keeping a school open so that our kids are not one of the ones that decide to drop out because they can't deal with their peers, because they don't fit in with their peers. To me, I find that wrong, and I'm fighting to keep it open for my daughter. And I do have other kids that go to school here, but she's my middle child. She's the one that needs the help. I gotta put her where she feels comfortable. That's all. I just wanted to speak my mind, try to keep the school open for all the kids that are now in Riverview and the future kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next item on our agenda is Bond 2020 discussion action items.
Excuse me. I'd like a chance to speak on Riverview. This is my first meeting. I didn't know about these cards here.
We have to move on.
You don't have 5 minutes so I can exercise my right to speak?
I'm sorry, I can't do it for anybody else. This is
What-
our board policy. You have to submit your green card before the meeting starts.
It's actually not in your board policy.
This, I read over your public participations at a board meeting, and it didn't say anything about a green card. It said nothing about a green card. I just want 5 minutes to speak about my school that I graduated from. Excuse me? That's not when it's what's been spoken about. That's not what's being discussed. It's being discussed today, and I'd like to express my right, 5 minutes, to speak on it. That's all I'm asking. To be respected as a citizen of the school. Excuse me?
We have a security officer here.
What's the harm in letting them speak?
It's 5 minutes.
You know what?
What's the problem?
This happens, no, you can't do it.
I didn't know, this is not even on, I read over what it takes to participate, and there's nothing said about a green card. Nothing.
Okay, you know what?
Nothing.
Everybody else was able to follow filling out a card.
I've never been here. This is my first time. How am I supposed to know about this green card? Is it on the
interrupting a
door?
meeting.
Is it on the door? See, this is why, don't touch me, don't touch me.
We're not doing this, okay?
This is why this community doesn't trust this board, because of crap like this. Exactly because of this. I'm simply asking for 5 minutes to speak, and you can't come down off your cloud in the sky and just allow me to do it. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Shame on all of you on that board. All of you. You should not be closing this school. You should not be closing it. Oh, it's not a school. It's just we're transitioning. That's BS.
Mr. Gazelka?
That's BS.
Sir, you don't have the opportunity to speak right now, okay?
Yes, I do.
You didn't follow
Matter
the
of fact,
procedure.
I am going to
You didn't
speak.
follow the
I
procedure.
didn't know what procedure. Where's the procedure? Where's the
Probably
procedure?
that sign that's on the table when you first
Where?
walked
What
in.
sign?
Even I
Where?
saw it, and it's my first
Where? At
meeting
what
as well.
table? I didn't see it. This is a joke. I talked to Trustee Prill on the 1st. On the 1st.
I'm sorry.
During April
Who
Fuel.
are you? Because I don't know who you are.
Mike Hilfrank.
Oh, hi, Mike. So
Yes,
nice to
I
meet
know.
you.
We had a great conversation. I really would love to speak,
But
Mrs.
you know
Prill.
what, Mike? You know, here's
This meeting is now adjourned.
Congratulations. That was awesome. I'll be at the next one and you guys discuss it. I appreciate
You
it.
go to so many meetings, you know the rules.
There's no
We won't
green
be-
card.
we
I've
won't
never
be
been at a
Zooming.
meeting. You think I'm lying about it? But thank you for adjourning. I'll address it the next time you guys discuss it. That actually works for me. Thank you.
Mike.
Exactly. You guys are just making up rules.
Is it adjourned or are we?
No, we're just taking a break.
Okay, our 10-minute recess is over. We are now back in session. We're going to try to continue our meeting. If the outbursts continue, then we will have to adjourn and postpone to another time.
Sounds good to me.
So right now, the next item was our bond 2020 discussion and action item. Mr. Kurt Gazelka.
I'll bring to you for action Innovation Center and Early Childhood Center signage. Due to the renovations and new construction for the Innovation Center and the Early Childhood Center, it is necessary to install new signage throughout the site. This includes interior and exterior signage. In conjunction with TMP Architects and All Construction, bids were solicited for the fabrication and installation of new signage throughout the entire site. A post-bid interview was conducted with the 2 lowest bidders. As a result of this interview process, the lowest bidder is being recommended. The formal recommendation is located in the booklet. Are there any questions in regards to the signage bid? Right.
I didn't understand what it meant, not read. There was a third bid, what was that?
Yeah, we only read responsive bidders, so if they didn't meet all the requirements that need to be submitted with the bids, then we don't read them. Okay?
Like what kind of signs are these? So like
Oh, these
childcare
are all
center
kinds of
this way?
signs. These are like wayfinding signs, room signs, like room number signs, exterior signs out in the parking lot that tell people which direction to go. So all different kinds of signs.
Like how many?
for the site.
Do you know how many
Oh,
you guys are gonna do?
don't know the exact number, but it's, you know, quite a few, more than tens, I would guess, maybe 100, maybe more. I mean, there's a lot of signage throughout the site.
Any other questions?
You're welcome.
So So at this time, a motion is needed for the Board of Education to accept the bid by Praise Sign Company in the amount of $55,900 for Innovative Center and Early Childhood Center signage.
So moved.
Support. Any comments or questions? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Next item starts our information and discussion items, the Bond 2020 project update. Here this evening, Jerry.
Good evening, everyone. Here to update you this monthly update on the bond program. Overall, we're still maintaining tracking supply chain and issues going on with that. Our team has gotten creative on how to manage that to maintain the schedule, but as you see, some of the things show up, like the light poles out here, they show up, but now parts that were told that would be there are delivered. So we've got things that we're tracking, things that are going to be a little bit out of order, but we're maintaining the schedule. At the Early Childhood and Innovation Center, we continue to progress. The demo is nearly complete, and you will see the focus shift to the site work here as we get into the spring season. Most of the underground was already put in place, so that'll come together quickly. At this site, the Sinclair 612 Gym Edition renovations will begin May 16th. That's going to be in the pool area, those areas that are adjacent to where we're tying in. Site work will not begin until the middle of June when we're not in the way of the school process of what you're doing. Marine City 612 building, we anticipate the bidding documents to be out in May with a mid-June bid date. So that's the next kind of exciting thing to report back out. That's really what I've got to report tonight. Any questions?
Any questions?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Jerry.
Okay, our next item is ECEA Pride. Christine. Oh, did I miss one? Excuse me. PA 152 of 2011 Resolution 8020, Angie Gleason. How about that?
Thanks. Good evening. In 2011, the Publicly Funded Health Insurance Contribution Act, or the PA 152 of 2011, created a new law that limits the amount public employers can pay for employee medical benefit plans. This act was effective in September, it was effective September 27th of 2011. There are annual hard caps that are set by the state treasurer and updated for inflation each year. Employers can accept these hard cap limits or elect to contribute 80% of the medical coverage. The 2002 rates for the hard caps and our current 80% contributions are listed here on the chart. We offer 3 plans to our employees: single person, 2-person, and family coverage. So that second column are the current or the 2022 hard cap limits. And then the next column is our 80% contribution that we currently make. And then the plus or minus shows that the hard cap is in excess of our 80% contribution. Each China school district has selected the 80% contribution since 2011. If we maintain that same 80% contribution selection, the district will incur savings of over $572,000 annually. The administration recommends that we maintain our 80% contribution for the PA 152 requirement. Are there any questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Angie.
Thank you. Okay, now ECEA Pride and Christina.
Hi, I'm Christina Nichols. I'm a teacher here at Sinclair High School, and I sent out an email to the teachers asking if they wanted to share anything that they're proud of in their classrooms or their school to add a slide. So I'm here to share the slides. So we have here about, this is from Riverview East High School, creativity, collaboration, and community. Riverview East High School students are designing a mural that will be located on a local business in downtown Marine City with the theme of Take Me to the River. Watch for the mural to be installed at the end of summer 2022. Students are working collectively with the city's mayor, Marine City Community and Economic Development Board, the Blue Water Arts Committee, and the River Rec Teen Zone to find creative ways to improve the community. And as part of the River Rec Teen Zone Youth Advisory, Riverview students are driving the future programs and projects at the Teen Zone. The Teen Center is open to all area teens from 2:30 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. Sinclair Middle School and Sinclair High School artwork was displayed at the 54th Annual Beatrice Thornton exhibit at SC4, so here's some artwork. There were over 100 pieces of art displayed representing East China School District. These are specific to Sinclair Middle School and Sinclair High School. This, the Marine City High School artwork was also displayed at the 54th Annual Beatrice Thornton exhibit. It's the same exhibit. This is from Marine City High School and then also Marine City Middle. Bell River and Palm Steam Fun, Lab Fun. No description given, but everyone loves pictures, so they speak for themselves. We have here Mrs. Vocational, end of unit one pagers for poetry and short stories. She teaches ELA at Marine City High School. There are some more examples. Marine City Middle School energy demonstrations. 6th grade students enjoyed demonstrating energy conversions, including using static electricity to make a soda can roll without touching the soda can. And here's some more pictures of that energy demonstration. Continuing with Marine City Middle School, students also demonstrated transferring thermal energy from their hands to increase the energy of air molecules inside a water bottle to get a quarter to rise in the air without touching the quarter. Marine City and St. Clair Choir, vocal music at the Performing Arts Center. Tuesday, March 3rd was the annual clinic and concert day with a guest conductor, Todd Moses from Macomb Community College. A great day learning and spectacular concert. March's Reading Month activities at Marine City Middle School are listed here. There's some pictures to follow. We have the Read a Latte Day. Door decorating. The readathon. Board games during an extended learning time. Marine City Middle again, 7th grade math class celebrated Pi Day while working on Pi-related activities. March 14th, of course. Representing Palms, Palms Kindergarten. Kindergartners tracked all the colorful fruits and vegetables they ate during the month of March. They grouped fruits and veggies into 10s for easy counting. They graphed and predicted the data, and then they wrote a how-to book teaching friends how to eat a rainbow. Sinclair High School Forensic. Students would lift prints and then identify them under the 3 main categories. And then this other part of the lab involved walking around the school and finding random prints to analyze. St. Clair High School also held the Festival of the Arts, celebrating all aspects of student life, academic arts, athletics, and service. My favorite assemblies of the Holmes 4th grade Rube Goldberg machines. The students experimented with height, energy, and chain reactions in science class before planning and creating their own. Some were successful, and others learned what went wrong and adapted that. And these are 2 short videos. Okay. I was waiting to make a joke for some reason.
Good job, girls. Ladies. Here it comes, and there it goes. Oh, almost. What's supposed to happen? Continue it with your hand. And all the way through to...
We heard a little bit about this already today. The project Lead the Way. So So teachers Anne Marie McLeod and Kate Volpe had the opportunity to tour and explore the NASA Challenger Learning Center at Sinclair Community College. They will be planning future field trips for their students. Mrs. Volpe's automation and robotics class, similar to what Mrs. McLeod demonstrated to the students here, actually the same project. And then I don't know if she said this, but at St. Clair Middle School, students had a great time coming up with the idea and showing off their pull toys in a parade through the 6th and 7th grade hallways. Some photographs. Introduction to engineering 3D printing using Fusion 360 CAD software, concept sketch, Fusion 360 CAD, and printed at lunch. And grant recipients. Kate Volpe was selected as a 2022 3P STEM Star recipient, nominated by Mike Domgowski. She will be able to purchase $500 worth of STEM items for her Project Lead the Way Gateway Classroom. She thanks you, Mr. Domgowski. And Kelly Robbins was also selected as a recipient, nominated once again by Mr. Domgowski. She purchased 7 mini Spiro robots, 3D printing filament and materials to create obstacle courses for the robot to compete. Those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy.
Okay, our next item is Riverview East transition update. Mrs. Nina Resnick and Mrs. Suzanne Saikula.
Thank you, President Frank, members of the board. This evening, Mrs. Resnick and I were going to give you an update on the transition at Riverview East High School. Mrs. Resnick, better known as Nina, was the principal at Riverview East High School for 16 years. She's going to give a little bit of history and background and reminders of where we are, and I'm going to talk about how we're going to move forward in a school district with support for all of our students. So, Nina. Okay.
So I might go a little off script because you guys threw me off a little bit today, but that's fine. I have been with this program since 2001, August of 2001, when the district's fall count was 5,729. 2.1% of students came to Riverview. At that time, we moved from being Ward Cottrell to Riverview East. We moved to EC2, and Dr. Green let us change the name, and of course we picked Riverview East because on the 3rd floor you could see the river. I asked Dr. Green at that time for an art teacher because we needed art. We didn't have anything but required classes, and we wanted an art teacher, and he said, if you can get me 20-some kids from out of district, you can have an art teacher. Well, by gosh, we went to Marysville, and I had a little bit of a connection at Marysville. A fishing partner of my brother-in-law's, who was the assistant principal there, and said, I'll get you 25 kids, and he did. And so we went from 96 in 2001 to 125 students, and a new art teacher, which was Jason. Staffing this year was 8 full-time teachers, a full-time counselor, a full-time secretary, and part-time paraprofessional, and a full-time principal. At-risk funding was allowed to be used for the entire program, which we did. And I have a bunch of stuff that is going to give you the counts and the percentages, but basically we were pretty consistent with remaining at 2% of the population. Even as our declining enrollment started to hit, at the end of 2006, or 2007, we were at 141 students. Dr. Green said, you got to cut the budget, and the only place we cut was going to a part-time secretary, unfortunately. But then it was 208 and 209, and my counselor was reduced to part-time. Our district's count was 5,136. We also were part of MMC. Michigan Merit Curriculum came and said, all kids must have Algebra 2, 4 years of math, which was just a joy for us at Riverview. And so we had to add another teacher, another math teacher, and all kids had to have Algebra 2, which that was the beginning of my fight with the state. But anyway, 2010, we were at 2% again. Our district count was, at this point, 2010-11 was 4,913. And my reduction was no counselor. I was the counselor, I was the principal, and I was doing all the scheduling. And if any of you were there during that period, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I was the counselor, but oh well. This would also be the first graduation class that had the MMC requirements of Algebra 2 in their senior year. And at that time, there was a rumor of a new reading law with redirection of our at-risk funds were being discussed in Lansing. And I know that my staff was well aware of that. They were talking about redirecting money, but not, the state doesn't talk usually, and we wait a while and they change their mind, but they weren't changing their mind. So at that point, 2011, we moved to the middle school, and I became not only the principal at Riverview, I was also the part-time assistant principal and the athletic director at the middle school, which was very funny. I'll tell you that story. Anyway, Dr. Green said, you could be the athletic director too, and he said that under his breath, and I said, what did you just say? And he said, athletic director, and he said, I thought it would be refreshing for you. And I said, what? I actually had another word for that, but we'll go with refreshing. So there we were at the middle school, further away from Marysville, where we were getting our out-of-district students. And my connection decided to retire, so he had nerve too. So he retired. We were all facing declining enrollment, and at that time we were at 4711 for our total enrollment, which we were still maintaining 2.3%. 31A, which is our at-risk funding, began changes and discussions for redirection once again, and it was eminent that this was going to happen. Those of you know the K-3 law, if they don't pass reading by 3rd grade, they're going to be held over. That was part of the law. But the other part was that monies from at-risk had to be redirected to the K-3 to get kids to read by grade 3. So as surrounding districts were feeling the impact of declining enrollment, students were less likely to be allowed to attend Riverview, and we were further away from Marysville, which the bulk of our out-of-district came. Our total enrollment at that time for Riverview was 117. The district's enrollment was 4541. Still, we maintained a 2% of students. And I can go on and on and on. And at 2018, Riverview was classified as a CSI school. That is a comprehensive support and improvement school, predominantly for our math scores. This would provide an additional math interventionist funded from RISA. So not only did we have 2 full-time math teachers, we had a full-time math interventionist, which was also a teacher, and we had a parapro, I believe, as well. And at that time, again, 2018-19, we had 107 students enrolled. We had 8 full-time teachers plus a math interventionist, and our student ratio was 11:1. In 2019-20, the district, we had 93 students, and the district's enrollment was 3979. We had 7 full-time teachers, a math interventionist, and a full-time administrator. We reduced 1 ELA teacher at the end of that year. 2021 came along, we had 72 students. The district's enrollment was 3811. We were still at 1.8% of students coming to Riverview. We had a 9 students to 1 teacher-student ratio. Without an interventionist, it was 11:1. At the start of 2021, we had 1 full-time administrator, 6 full-time teachers, 1 part-time teacher, and a full-time math interventionist. Technically 7 teachers, if you count them. While several classes were running with 12 to 20 students, others had less than 10, and we had several math classes that were running with sometimes 2 students. In order to right-size this program and keep it viable while being fiscally responsible to the district, we restructured. I was a major part of that restructuring, and as most of you know, I love Riverview. And so for me to work on restructuring was not an easy task. but I wanted to make it work as much as we can. This is where I'm going to go off script a little, because if you look around the state, you're angry at everyone here. Your anger needs to be at the state level. You have legislators that are not supporting alternative ed, and I have fought that fight, and I know some of the teachers have too, that we have talked to legislators, and if you look around, you're seeing that all of these alternative ed programs are becoming totally online programs, which serves no one. And our competition began Port Huron with VLA, with, I think it's called Success Academy now. Everything is all online because they can't support the program. I live in the Troy School District. I live in Troy, the Avondale School District. They had a large alternative program. It's all online right now. And actually, they don't even have it anymore because nobody wants to do all online, especially an alternative ed student. So your anger should not be here. It should be at the state level, where my anger is, because I'm fighting them all the time about something. So for this restructuring, what we did this year is we reduced the staff to 3 full-time teachers. We had 59 students. The district had 3,800 students. We reduced the staff to 3 full-time teachers, a math interventionist, and a full-time social worker. We restructured into quarters, allowing students to earn 2 credits a quarter with 8 credits per year. In order to prevent students from graduating early, which we're not allowed to do, we asked that only 11th and 12th graders would be allowed to attend. Any student that was already enrolled in 9th or 10th grade would remain at Riverview. Administration would be handled by administrators on campus with Sherry Becker, principal, at the complex. So from when I first arrived at ECSD, the count was 5632. This year, it was 3802. That's a loss of 1,830 students. Most districts that have maintained an alternative ed program has provided students with an online-only program, which is not in the best interest. Or they're an extremely large program. I think Chippewa Valley, who's got, I don't know how many students, has a program. Is it Chippewa? Maybe I'm thinking that. Mohegan is Mohegan yours? So they have a large program because they have 27,000 million kids. So
16,000.
60,000?
16,000.
Okay, so that's a lot. So declining enrollment and a reduction and a redirection of at-risk funding has made it difficult to sustain the school and keep the integrity of the program. Because I don't know who wouldn't want 15 kids in a classroom or 10 kids in a classroom. I know every teacher in this district would like that. It's hard to do. So I'm going to let Suzanne talk about what we're going to do in the future.
Thank you, Nina. I appreciate your background and history on Riverview East High School. So this past week, myself, Sherry Becker, Jess Simons, the assistant principal, and Devin, the social worker, have met with every Riverview East student who will be in the program for next year. And what I asked them was how their school year was going. I asked them a series of questions. How their school year was going, how many credits did they need to graduate, were they aware of where they were at, and how did they want to complete their journey to graduation. Most all of them told me they would like to stay with Riverview East to complete that journey, and I shared with them that I would find a way to make that happen for them for next school year, the remaining 22 students that are in the program. But then I asked them questions like, what was the best part of being at Riverview East High School? What was difficult, if there was anything difficult about being at Riverview East High School? And I'll tell you, those answers right there were the heart of the work that we have to do as a school district. Enoch, you were one of the best discussions we've had. I learned so much from you, and I learned from your classmates too, what we need to do as a school district to move forward. Where do we need to focus our energy so that students like Enoch are reached and we do what's best for them and get them to graduation? The last question I asked every student was, starting in kindergarten to right now, when did school become hard for you? Some of them said it's always been hard. School is just not my thing. But many of them had a specific grade level or age at which they started to struggle. And we are going to compile that data and make sure that these future supports that we're putting in place are at those points when that school became hard for these students. So I just want everyone to know how important it is that we are getting that information from these students and creating supports, creating safety nets so that we can make sure that we can get them to graduation. Just not the 22 that are remaining in the program, but the students that are coming up and that we reach them. So what we've done over the last year, and I want to share with you what's going to happen in the coming year to provide those safety nets and supports for our students, is making sure we reach them sooner. The sooner we can reach a child when they're struggling, the quicker we can get them on the right path. Whether they need academic intervention or social emotional intervention or wraparound services, whatever it may be, we need to reach them sooner. Getting to 10th grade and finding out you're behind in credits and us quickly trying to make that happen just isn't the best solution. So I want to share with you what we've done over the past year, and I'm just going to summarize a little bit, and what our plans for next year include. So this past school year, 21-22, we hired a social worker for every school building. Prior to that, we had 3 social workers for the entire school district. So students are struggling with their social emotional health, didn't have access to a social worker. We rectified that. We hired 2 elementary academic interventionists so we can reach students sooner with their academics. We got some programs that are more personalized, exact path for grades K through 5, Alex for grades 6 through 12. For students who are struggling, they can know exactly what they're struggling with and how they can help themselves. Credit recovery, we offer that during the school day as well as before and after school. We actually run a class during the school day where students can take classes to make up their credits. We've got some new social emotional curriculum because we know how important that is. We have calm classrooms and we're working with the Trails Tier 1 and 2 supports, expanded positivity project offerings. My daughter is in 6th grade and she signed up for the positivity class for next year and she's very excited about it. We have Zen rooms or relaxation spaces built into our schools, and as we do all of our renovations throughout the district, we're going to include those types of spaces in our schools so that when students need a moment, we can give them a moment. We don't have to enact discipline or do any of those things. We can just give them a moment to collect themselves and get back into the learning environment. You saw today that we've expanded our offerings at the middle school level with STEM classes, and what's important about this, and one of the students at the beginning mentioned it, it's for all students. Any 6th, 7th, or 8th grader that wants to take, 7th or 8th grader, excuse me, that wants to take these STEM classes can. We have hired Michigan College Access Network advisors at each one of our high schools. These help students create personalized post-secondary pathways, whether they're going into the job market, if they're going on to college, or if they're continuing in their work environment that they're in. Whatever they need, those Access Network advisors will help. We have expanded club offerings to include more students that want to be included but may not have a club that interests them. We have a summer intervention program for all students in grades K through 12, and this year we have a summer enrichment program that's running at the end of August. Our plans for next year, building more safety nets in for all of our students. We're hiring an attendance and student engagement paraprofessionals who will monitor attendance and encourage academic engagement for identified middle and high school students because we know how important attendance is, and we need to identify those students sooner. Just as I was saying earlier, we can't wait. Once we start to notice a pattern of absenteeism, we need to intervene. We're going to hire behavioral interventionists at our elementary schools, academic after-school programs to provide students the opportunity to be successful, middle school academic interventionists. I mentioned this year we hired elementary academic interventionists. Next year it's going to be our middle school academic interventionists, again to intervene early. Expanded personalized learning math reading program, Exact Path, now to include grades 6 through 12. We have it K through 5. And additional counseling support at the secondary school level. Those jobs have already been posted, and we will be interviewing and hiring to provide those supports to our students. So I do want to make mention of one other thing. Kevin Miller called me. He's the superintendent for St. Clair County RESA. And they're in conversations about opening a in-person alternative education program at the high school level as a county. Because as Nina was explaining, it's hard for individual districts with their declining enrollment to support these programs. But just like with the Career Tech Center, when you can do it as a county, we'll be able to support that. So those discussions are happening as well. So what I want to close with is the students that I've spoken to at Riverview East over the past week have inspired and reminded me how important it is that we build systems that support all of our students, build safety nets. And we will continue with that inspiration. I will continue with that inspiration to make sure that we reach as many students as soon as we can. So thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, a couple questions. All of the many supports that you went through and mentioned, are those paid through, I guess, some of the COVID money?
Some of it, and some of it is that redirection of 31A funds that's being required of us.
So we feel like those things that we put in place will be able to maintain and sustain moving forward?
Yes.
And I will say, just I'm glad that you talked to all the students and asked them questions about what it is that they appreciate and enjoy the most. These things are all great, but I hope that we do keep in mind some of the great things that Riverview does, and we're able to bring those experiences wherever those students are. And we've said before, we've gone to Riverview graduation and been so inspired. And you know, we saw just today with the ECEA Pride, and we saw what Riverview's doing in the community, and they've always done things in the community, and that's pretty special. And that's why, you know, a former like Mr. McNiff will put on a suit and come here and speak to us about his experience. And we want to make sure that these things that we're doing also would inspire somebody someday to come and put on a suit and come before the board and talk about their experiences. So I hope we can bring that special piece of Riverview, keep that special piece somehow, some way.
I agree with you. I agree with you. Education is evolving. Alternative education is evolving, and we're adapting with that. But learning. One of the things from the interviews that was a takeaway for me is we need to do this. You know, when students leave elementary school, we need to talk to them. When they leave middle school, we need to get their feedback. That's an important piece that in the day-to-day operations that maybe we need to put back in to help us make decisions moving forward.
I've always kind of thought that all of high school could be more like alternative school, some of the things that they do, and so I'd like to bring some of those things to all of school.
Agreed.
Ideally.
The students who will be seniors this year, will they be together?
Yeah, that's what I promised them. Didn't I, Ina?
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, our next item is a health curriculum update. Mr. McClellan.
Good evening, everybody. Part of the requirements through the state of Michigan are that anytime you convene a group of community members and educators related to the health curriculum, that you provide the school board a set of recommendations. So that is what I am here to discuss with you tonight. This is basically just currently where we're at, and then our recommended update in terms of health textbooks and the resources that accompany them. You'll notice that the copyrights for what we currently have are outdated by 13 years for the middle school and 15 years for the high school. And one of the things that I will discuss in the next slide are kind of the key topics that come up related to health that are not addressed in the curriculum that we have. And one of the things that we've talked about as a priority for the district is making sure that our our Tier 1 curriculum is up to date, is consistent across the district, and provides the best opportunity for our students and staff. You'll notice that for the high school, we're moving from Prentice Hall over to Glencoe Health. The main reasoning there is the resources that this company put into their health curriculum are far superior than what this company is doing, and for consistency's sake in terms of attaining a lower bid. You'll notice that both of the high school programs, the old one that we currently have and the new one, both have a human sexuality supplement. Most of, if not all of, the updates from the 2007, 2009 to the 21 and 22 are not related to human sexuality. Those supplemental materials are very consistent, as you'll see on the next slide. On the left here are the program components that will be part of the package. So we'll have updated curriculum, which meets the needs of today's learners. We'll have ebooks accompanying the physical textbooks, the interactive online activities, quizzes, and tests. This is the thing that the teachers were most excited about, because this offers them an opportunity to meet the students in a different modality, and it also allows for some of the different simulations related to different health topics, and then the updated teacher resources. And then over here on the right, these are some of the big things in terms of updates that have occurred since the 2007 and 2009 copyrights. So obviously we're aware of the COVID-19 pandemic and the health risks that are associated with that. The science and the health behind the pandemic would all be part of the update. This is a really important component of health curriculums in today's day and age. The the uses that students come across for vaping and e-cigarettes, and then also the health ramifications, and making sure that everybody has a good understanding of what comes with vaping and e-cigarette use. The opioid crisis information, so kind of the most up-to-date information around the opioid crisis. The updated My Plate recommendations, so this is connected to nutrition and what is recommended by health and medical experts. Another important one would be cyberbullying and online harassment, so making students aware of the laws that are associated with what you can and cannot do in a cyber or online setting, and then how to read the most up-to-date nutrition labels and what is really being stated by companies when you read that product label. So trying to teach them to be smart consumers. So these are the key updates that come with the new curriculum. These are kind of the resource package that goes with that. And then this is just the recommendation by the Sexual Education Advisory Board that the East China School District purchase the two aforementioned textbook series / supplemental resources for the 22-23 school year and beyond. And then obviously tonight is just the recommendation, and then we'll follow the district policy in terms of giving you that information in your board book for a future meeting. Any questions?
Is this the time to ask questions about the curriculum?
Sure.
Can you go into what do you mean human sexuality? Is it in addition to what the kids have been learning, or can you kind of expand on what will be discussed?
So back up, so a couple things related to that. So first of all, there's not a change in the sexuality components that we discussed. There's not a change in what's presented. There's not a change in how our teachers present it or how the material is arranged in the textbook. And the other thing that's important is at 4th grade, 5th grade, 7th grade, 9th or 10th grade, whenever students take high school health, that is a parent permission type situation. Yeah, so parents and students can opt out of that. They can opt out of that in 4th grade, come back in 5th grade. Parents and students can preview materials prior to that, either through the school district or through the individual buildings themselves. So that's all front-loaded to parents and students in terms of that preview opportunity. But yeah, there's not really a lot of change. As you can see with the list, this is right from the outline of the textbooks. So there's not a big difference between the two. No. Anything else? And obviously, if you have additional questions, we can cover them at the next meeting. You can email me. We can talk.
Well, I'm just curious as to like, are the only offerings from all of these publishers, there's always going to be a COVID discussion? Is it, and then like with cyberbullying and online harassment, are they specific to Michigan laws, or are these kids just learning broad?
Well, everything is connected to Michigan law. The other thing that we use the Michigan Health Curriculum. So if you go online, you can search for that curriculum, and it ties in. Our teachers utilize that quite a bit as a supplement to connect things to Michigan and Michigan law. But I mean, some of this stuff is national. I mean, everything on this list applies to the state of Michigan and every state in the entire country. Everybody went through the pandemic. I mean, vaping and e-cigarette use is a problem throughout the country. The opioid crisis, the MyPlate, cyberbullying, online harassment, and then the teachers utilize that Michigan health curriculum, the online component, to kind of tie it all back together to Michigan. It's just like any other subject that we teach in our schools. There's kind of national ramifications, and then there's the teachers bringing it home for the students and allowing them to make a personalized connection with it. So it's very similar in how it occurs for any other subject. So.
I guess from a logistical standpoint, with there being online access as well, do we buy a textbook for every student that they can take with them and take home, or do we just have the textbooks in the classroom?
We talked to the teachers, and they wanted, which I agreed with, they wanted to do classroom textbooks with a bank in the libraries for checkout, and then every student would have the online access. That seemed like a pretty reasonable solution to kind of meet in the middle of everybody gets one versus just a single classroom set. So, and it's a 6-year online subscription. It's much more cost effective to do that versus to chip away year after year after year. So, yep. Anybody else?
The SEAB, who does that consist of?
So there's parents, there's teachers, myself, student representation. Jennifer Mahalik from the Community Mental Health was consulted, and then we also have members that attend the Macomb area board of sex ed advisors to kind of get the latest and greatest information from MDHS. And we have either myself to attend that, or we've had Nicole Flynn attend that as well, and kind of bring that information from the greater Michigan or greater kind of outside of St. Clair County to bring that back to us. So, yep.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thanks, Michael.
Anything else? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next item is the RESA 2022-23 budget proposal. Mrs. Ardula.
Thank you, President Frank, members of the board again. Normally, Kevin Miller, the superintendent from St. Clair County RESA, would be here to provide this update, but he had 2 board meetings tonight. So he is in Algonac and I am here. He has provided to me some bullet points from each of the 3 funds, from RESA's 3 funds, and then you will have the actual budgets to review before accepting at the next board meeting. So under their general fund budget, he has a few bullet points he wanted me to share with you. They have added an additional college advisor in Marine City. For us, that's Sky Jarsky. And for St. Clair, it's Annalise Merchant. So those are those layers I was talking about when we were talking about Riverview East, building in those MCAN advisors.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Those positions are through the RESA?
We split the cost, shared cost. Secured state money for the Tri-State Child Share Program. The next bullet point talks about increasing the 31N funding from $71,000 in 2019-20 with 1 social worker to $1.9 million budgeted for 22-23. He indicates that they will have 6 social workers by the end of 21-22 and an additional psychologist added for 22-23. They are adding at least 3 additional GSRP classrooms in the county for next fall. And they're collaborating with EDA, the Community Foundation, and the YMCA to add 4 preschool classrooms at the Eddy Center in St. Clair, which is our former Eddy Elementary. Now, under their special education budget, he indicates that for increased communication with transportation, they've employed a repeater program with additional towers in 2 parts of the county. His next bullet point is saying that additional 2 staff for the NEX, Next Step program housed at SC4, which has increased from 8 special education students in its first year 6 years ago to 60 students this fall, ages 19 to 25. They are doubling the amount spent for behavior supports to districts, to LEAs like East China, expanded from 1 interventionist 6 years ago to 8 intervention staff this year, and adding at least 1 more for the fall of 22-23. We benefit from those intervention staff. Under the vocational education budget, he has 4 bullet points. The first one is that additional school-to-work coordinators have been hired to supervise more than 200 tech students doing internships out in the community, construction trades, health occupations, digital media, and others. And this is near and dear to our hearts here. They've added a new teacher exploration and early childhood program at Tech to get students interested in the education program and become teachers. Doubling the size of the digital media program from 48 to 96 seats, with up to 48 eventually in media partner organizations off campus. And his final bullet point is developing in-district CTE in collaboration with local districts. So not only offering the CTE programs at the Tech Center, but developing some of those programs within districts. So those conversations. So I'd be happy to take any questions now, or any questions you want to email me and get those to Dr. Miller for his response.
I don't know if you can answer this one. They're adding 3 GSRP to add Eddy?
No, the GSRP, let me make sure I'm saying this right. It just says adding at least 3 additional GSRP classrooms in the county next fall, collaborating, the next bullet point, pardon me, collaborating with the EDA, the Community Foundation, and the YMCA to add 4 preschool classrooms at the new Eddy Center in St. Clair.
Will that affect our?
Well, the way that I look at this is anytime we can get young folks to come into our community and get ready for school, we'll be right there waiting for them when they're 5 years old and we're doing our kindergarten roundup. So anytime we can entice more in, we're happy to do so.
And then will we be able to keep our math interventionist that was at Riverview to help those students all together?
I will need to speak with Brenda Tenniswood about that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? If you think of any, I'll be happy to share those with Dr. Miller. Thank you.
And with that, we're adjourned.